What's going on, wrestling fans? It is I, Seafall, and welcome to the show. On today's edition, I'm talking to someone I can't wait to learn about rugby with. It's Emma Diaz. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing amazing. And, before we even jumped into this, I went on Twitter, maybe something has happened, maybe some developments, and boom, some developments for you have happened because you're going to be Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. I cannot wait. May 11th in Texas City. When did this deal come together? Because this is moving quick for you.
I know. Well, obviously some unfortunate news. I was released by the WWE on Friday, May 3rd. And like my first thing that came to my mind is that I wanted to keep wrestling and I want to, I've only been training for 11 months, so I've come such a long way in 11 months. So I'm excited to see where I can go. Um so yeah, I made some calls and Booker T was super nice enough to get me a match on the show for this Saturday at Reality of Wrestling.
Man, I cannot wait because, we haven't really been exposed to that much on television. We've seen you here and there, moments, glimpses, but yet you were on the hit show, the WWE Next Gen on Roku television. Now, take me through that because I've talked to other wrestlers who were sort of involved or were involved with training, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're actually on the show. So what is pitched to you? How is this show explained to you?
Well, do you want me to take you through like my whole tryout process?
Let's go for it. Let's start from the beginning. Chapter 1.
Okay, well, I was playing rugby at Life University and I was also on the amateur wrestling team. So I was a dual sport athlete. And WWE just reached out to me and they were like, we want to get to know you and we want to invite you to a tryout. So I had an interview with them. I told them my story. I'm from Miami, Florida. And my father, he actually got on a raft and spent 7 days in the ocean coming here from Cuba. So that's what motivates me. And they were honestly really inspired by that story. And they invited me to the tryout. And I had no training. I was 3 weeks. This was 3 weeks before the tryout. I didn't know what to expect. And I went and I worked really hard and I transformed in 3 days. I made a lot of improvement. And I think that the coaches saw how much I grew in just 3 days. And they ended up giving me a contract to come to the performance center. And, I worked hard and I did just that. And I made a lot of progress in the first year of me being a WWE superstar. And, now looking back, I'm excited to see like how much more I can grow. And I've fallen in love with this business in just 11 months. And I never thought that I would.
Wow. Now let's start from the beginning then, because obviously you are reached out. So suddenly you're a rugby star, and obviously the WWE is scouting college
Yes.
campuses. We know that. We know this. This is how they've
Yes.
been finding new talent and training them from the ground up. So at one point, are you ever thinking like, oh, I would love to do the WWE, or out of nowhere you receive an email, or does your teacher or your coach say like, hey, I got a call from someone and they want to talk to you? Like, what the beginning process? How does that actually work?
So usually people get DMs on Instagram, but one of my trainers from back home that trained me from when I was like 14, when I played flag football and going into rugby, he actually knew someone that works in the WWE that was looking for talent. So he works with a lot of, and he was like, I don't have like any guy football players right now for you, but I do have a girl that would be interested. And so they actually texted me and set up a call. So that's how that started. So a little bit different from how it starts with most people. And I also didn't have like a strong social media platform like most people do, but it has grown tremendously since obviously the show and everything going on.
That's hilarious though, because you say like, oh, it starts with an Instagram DM. Like, oh shit, my DM game is
Yeah.
shitty. So I mean,
Yeah.
like,
So I
you don't
didn't get
imagine
that.
you don't have Instagram. Like, oh, I've been trying to DM you on Instagram for years. Well, I don't have one, so it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. Wow. All right. So then that process goes. And now I've attended one performance center tryout session last year, SummerSlam in Detroit, and I was only there for maybe 6 hours, and
Okay.
I was told flat out, "Hey, you can film anything you want, just don't film someone get injured." All right, cool.
Okay.
Right off the bat, someone's injured, but as time goes on, there was 3 rings, and there was multiple coaches involved, and you're doing these things. Now, hopefully you can describe the intensity of this because I don't think anyone can actually train for what they put you through. I recall one time you're holding onto the middle ropes, the top rope,
Mhm.
and they tell you lift your knees above the second rope as fast as you can go, and you go, 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 and they make
Oh,
you
that's
drop
the
down
worst.
on your gut, drop down,
Yeah.
and you get back up, grab the top rope again,
Mhm.
knees, 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 knees,
Yeah.
over and over and over. Take me through the process of you think your cardio is ready for this, but I don't think anyone realizes what they actually are trying to do to you.
Yeah. So with that specific drill, it was very hard, but honestly, it wasn't as hard for me because with rugby, you tackle someone, you get back up, you
Hmm.
fall, and you get back up. So we do a lot of like up down drills like that. And I had just finished my amateur wrestling season and my rugby season, so I was in pretty good shape.
Okay.
But definitely it was so strenuous on my body. But it wasn't, I knew that in the ring would be my strong suit and the promos would be where I struggled. And that's exactly what happened. So I tried to just work as hard as I could in the ring and, get better in my promos as the days went on.
So
Um,
then, I did see a promo class. So what was your character? What was your gimmick? What would you dress up? Because I saw some people dressed in some extravagant outfits.
yeah, so honestly, I was just like, I feel like I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't. Like I was watching a lot of Bianca Belair and a lot of Lola Vice, and I was trying to like dig into that because I'm also from Miami. But then when I got hired, I realized that that's not who I am, and I'm actually a lot very into cars, and I love Fast and Furious, and so I started digging into that kind of character when I actually started. I'm more of like the badass character and the Fast and Furious, and
Yeah.
but at the tryout, I was definitely trying to be somebody that I wasn't, and I realized quick that that's not what that was. But I mean, trial and error, especially with something so new like that.
Of course. And now with your class, you got a chosen out of how many people were there, and who else in your class that we have maybe you could recognize or know was part of your class?
So there was about 50 to 55 athletes, and 3 girls and 5 boys got signed officially. So me, Emma Diaz, Olena Sadowska, Brianna Covington,
Mm.
Julian Baldi, he's from Italy. So he didn't start with us. He had to wait until he got his visa, and then he
Oh
was
man.
on board with us. Jonah Niesenbaum, Braden Ray, and Keyshawn LaFleur. Yes.
Nice class. I like all the
Yeah.
names. Very, very fancy. But
Yeah.
so while you're trying out, who is there? Because of course it depends what year you're talking about. Because Shawn Michaels, Steve Corino, Matt Bloom, William Regal. Obviously, those are the main guys. But like, are you speaking with these people? Do you know their history? Because you mentioned 11 months of training, but before that, were you ever familiar with professional wrestling? Maybe you watched it as a child or grew up on it, anything like that?
So I did watch, like the biggest shows of WWE, but I wasn't a huge pro wrestling fan, nor did I know how people got into this. I didn't know there was a performance center. I didn't know too much about NXT. So I knew nothing.
Mm.
And, I learned really quick at the tryout, who all these people were. And I respected everybody, from the moment that I got there, and I was open-minded. I was willing to learn everything. I respected everybody. But I definitely did learn more about them as time went on because I wasn't as familiar at the tryout.
Yeah, yeah. And then, so after your tryout, what's your process like? Because, really, if I look at television and you on it, there was a Halloween Havoc, I believe, costume contest, and you were judge. Excuse me. Let me start over. There was a Rumble in October in 2023, so you were involved with that. But that's really your only true being showcased. It felt like on television. What was the next step? Were there next steps? What was the discussions like to get you more TV time?
So, let's see. I started in June of 2023, and those first 3 months, you're training, you're learning the most basic things ever. So first you need to, learn the basics, the fundamentals of pro wrestling, and then, you know, you need to learn all the psychology of like having a match, and so it was a process. It takes about like 3 to 4 months before like someone can be ready to have a match.
Hmm.
And then, from there they start putting you on live events, which that's where I made my debut. It was in Davenport in October for the Rumble. And I believe me and Olena both made our debuts there. Um and then, like we just keep training, and it's really about casting and who they want on TV and what role you can fit at the specific time. So
Mhm.
it's like it's a little hard and a little tricky because you kind of never know. Um Obviously I had meetings, with my coaches, and it was always that I was progressing and I was doing the right thing and my promos were getting better. But I truly believe the casting is a big part of WWE. It's not just about how hard you work, and like in sports, it's okay, the hardest worker is going to be on the starting lineup. With
Yeah.
here, it doesn't work like that. And I think I understood that from a very early stage of my pro wrestling career. And I think that's why I'm doing okay now. I understand that a business decision had to be made like towards the end of my career. Only with WWE, because of course not the end of my career just yet. um, but yeah, back to your question. That happened in October. And then I wrestled again in a six tag about 4 weeks ago. And so I was excited. I had my character going, I had gear. I was really consistent with my promos, and I was like digging into that Fast and Furious, like the I love the cars, type of
Yeah.
gimmick. Um, and then I had my first singles match on a house show as well against Lola Vice 2 weeks ago. And then unfortunately, my career ended with WWE. But yeah, I think you never know. I truly feel like I did everything that I could have. I worked really hard. I lost 9% of body fat. I transformed my body. I tried to turn myself into a star as best as I could and as fast as I could in 11 months. So I truly feel like I did everything I could.
So, what was the reasoning behind you no longer being needed in the WWE, according to them? And then you mentioned the weight loss for a minute. Is that a suggestion, or is that a thing that you did yourself, or you feel like there is the pressure of I need to be this way to get more out of what I'm doing here?
So it wasn't a suggestion. They're very respectful towards, like, yeah, they don't cross that line. No,
Okay.
yeah. But I read this book about pro wrestling, and there's three things when it comes to marketing yourself as a pro wrestler. It's your promos, your look, and your in ring. So, obviously I was working on my promos, I was working on my in ring, but I wanted to be as marketable as possible, and I wanted to be happy with the way I looked, especially if it was time to debut on TV. I wanted to be ready, and I wanted to show them that I was taking this serious, and I wanted to look like a star, and I
Mhm.
wanted to, so that's why I made that decision, and it ended up really boosting my confidence. And I'm very happy and secure with the way I look and the way I am now, rather than at the tryout. I mean, when the show came out and I watched it back, I was like, oof, I was so like shy and in a shell, you know? I low key was like, what did they see in me? But I guess they saw my worth ethic because I definitely made a huge transformation in just 11 months.
Yeah, of course. And I've seen the pictures of your gear running all over the internet right now with the checkered flags and the just a
Mhm.
new style and the Fast and Furious, Michelle Rodriguez type style and going out there.
Yeah, that is
I love the gear. I love the gear. And so where does that come from? Like, do you go to your own seamstress? Do you work with someone because like I wrestling gear to me, like you're bringing up looks and promos, like your outfit, your gear, when you first walk out and I see your gear, people are like, oh man, that person's a star. And I love the
yeah.
gear I've seen circulating the internet. So where'd that come from?
So actually, I have a girl in the UK that made the gear for me, and she does like dance costumes. She actually makes Stevie Turner's gear and Blair Davenport's gear.
Oh, nice.
So I reached out to her, and she was able to see my vision like perfectly, and she made me a perfect set of gear. You know, and it came literally 3 days before I had my singles debut with Lola Vice on the house show in Orlando. So that was just like a really special moment for me, you know. It's like everything came together all at once. I had my gear, I had the look. I was in Orlando where the NXT fans are. I think I got a big push, you know, with that show. And yeah.
Well, I love that gear that's running over all over Twitter or X as we call it right now as I knock my microphone over.
Well,
Uh,
I'll be wearing that gear this Saturday at Reality of Wrestling. So
perfect. Because yeah, I think it's a missed opportunity when you see someone who clearly has a design and a goal and a look, and then it's like, oh well, like we kind of didn't really jump into it, but it's like, why do you think they let you go? Because some people you look at and you say like, okay, maybe they didn't have a look, but clearly you had a look and a design for who you want to be. So what was the reason they gave you?
so they gave me the reason that, you know, creative had nothing for me. Which is I think what they tell everybody, you know, because at the end of the day, it is a show, and if creative has nothing for you, and they don't see you on their show, then it's really no reason like to be paying you, you know. Um, and Coach Bloom, I spoke to him after the decision was made, and I always had a really strong bond with Coach Bloom, even at my tryout. And he knows how hard I worked, and he knows that after that decision was made, I was going to go on the indies and continue to work super hard. And if this is meant for me, you know, like the WWE will definitely come back around, and I'll be able to showcase myself after I have found myself and be just a better version of myself.
Yeah, of course.
um,
Yeah, I
but yeah,
can't wait.
I mean, I guess, you know, creative had nothing for me, and I would say I was getting good at all of the boxes, but I wasn't great at one thing. And I think that that's really important, you know, like someone's either really good in the ring or someone is just this extravagant character, you know, like you have to just be over the top with this business. And I think that that's something that I was struggling to find, but I'm starting to find my groove now. And I think that, you know, wrestling on the independents, I'll definitely, you know, get a feel for what the crowd likes, what they don't like. You know, I'll be confident and I'll find myself as a performer and as, you know, a character out there.
Now, so you've already 11 months of working inside the WWE machine, and now you're already going to be getting a big opportunity with the Reality of Wrestling this weekend as well. But like, do you feel like 11 months is too soon to decide that someone isn't progressing enough? Because if you go back, say like 10 years ago, when NXT first kind of opened, it was like, oh, we have indie stars coming in who already are established. Let's just throw them on TV. They don't know how to wrestle. Now the Performance Center is like bringing people cold. You came from rugby, you came from amateur wrestling, but like this is starting from zero versus people coming in who've been wrestling on the indies and Ring of Honor for 10 years already. Like, do you think 11 months I think it is. 11 months is just too much, too soon. Be like, oh well, that person's not doing what we want to do. See ya.
Yeah. 11 months is very short. It went by so quick. But I will say that, ever since the WWE has been bringing in athletes, the bar has been risen. I
Mm,
mean, look at Kalani Jordan. She made her NXT Level Up debut in 6 months, and now she's, like a huge star on NXT. But she was ready for TV in 6 months.
true.
And even Peyton Presson, that also wrestled with me at Life University, she came in after me. She was part of the NIL program, and she's on TV now as Kendall Gray. And she made her debut in 6 months. So if they're gonna invest into people that are gonna be ready, that fast, and I think that I think it's a business decision, and I think the
Mm,
bar has risen, especially since I've been hired. The talent there is so good, and oof, I respect everybody. I look up to a lot of the women in that women's division, especially Roxanne Perez. Um, but Roxanne was on the indies. She was with Booker T's school for a really long time, and it took her a long time to get really good, but she came to WWE when she was ready. Same thing with my boyfriend Lexis King. He was on the indies for 6 years, with AEW. He knew that he didn't want to come here right away because he wasn't ready. Um, so I'm excited. I think, 11 months is really fast, but it takes others longer, than it does take other people. So, um, yeah, I guess it
yeah.
just depends.
Yeah, we all learn at different paces. I just think 11 months to me is like, if I came in cold and they were like, you need to learn everything about this right now as fast as you
Oh, yeah.
can.
Hmm. Yeah.
With anything in life, doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, it's so hard. And you never know, like you never know when you're gonna get the call, or you never know when you're gonna get the call to make your debut, like you never know what is being processed, behind the curtains
of course.
about you. So it's just you just gotta work hard and hope for the best. And I think I did that. So
100%. Again, again, starring on the Roku show next gen. Obviously, that'll be there forever for everyone to enjoy.
yeah.
Apparently, you don't like watching it.
I watched
Uh,
it once and I binge watched it. I literally watched it at 12 a.m. when it came out. And then I watched it once and I was like, all right, that's it.
you're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Oh man. Well, you brought him up for a second, Alexis King, your boyfriend. So
Hmm.
he came in from AEW, and again, the way he was presented in AEW and the way he's presented now, completely different. Has there ever been a discussion with both of you being like, things change, and sometimes change is necessary?
Yeah. At first it was really hard for us because obviously we have, a stable home right now. Like we were both going to work together. We were both coming home together. We were making the same amount of money. Everything was, very stable. But now that there is change, he's really excited for me because he did the independence for a really long time. And he thinks that, like it's time that I pay my dues like back to the business because I got to train and I got paid to train. And a lot of independent wrestlers and a lot of people that love pro wrestling don't get the luxury of that. And I definitely realize and I'm grateful for that. So he thinks that I'll get really good on the indies and I'll learn how to work a crowd. And then if WWE wants to, roll back around, it, if it's meant to be. But yeah, I mean, change is good, and I'm really lucky to have him to help me, get bookings or, teach me like how the independent side of wrestling works.
Yeah, no, he's a talent that everyone was going like, why he's doing so well here, but like he's not doing as much as we all want him to do now. Obviously in
Yeah.
NXT and his character, and for so long, everyone would talk about, his father, Brian Pillman, but then,
Mm.
when you talk about second generation superstars, sometimes you get compared to your relatives way too much. But him coming in, Lexis King, using that name, last name King. When the WWE lets you use King as your last name, I think they might have faith in you. And with you as well, I don't know if you're aware, but this woman, Steph DeLander, one of the best indie stars going today, used to work in NXT 2 years ago and let go. I interviewed her about a week after. I interviewed her, though, about 2 days ago as well. The 2-year difference of talking to that person and how amazing that she has changed herself and became someone she wants to be and feels comfortable in her own skin. She is doing amazing work with Matt Cardona on the indie scene, and they are destroying everyone in their sight. So with you right now, I look forward in 2 years to interview you again.
Interview me again, yes.
And talk to you about where you are in life, because what she has done, it's been amazing. And I look forward to seeing what's next for you as well. But what's next is this weekend. Do you know who you're fighting?
Yes. I don't know yet. But I did want to add something to what we were just talking about.
Yes.
1 year ago, actually, like since around this time, Brian was let go by AEW. So he was able to, help me through it. And then obviously he was signed by WWE, and it was way better for him. And he's so happy. So he's very confident that I will be happy very shortly. So yeah, so leading into this weekend, I don't know who I'm wrestling, but I'm excited.
Oh man, I can't wait, because even current WWE and NXT superstars end up going to Reality of Wrestling competing. And the fact that you don't work there anymore, but the fact that you're already going to be on Booker T's show is quite an achievement alone, because again, like I said up, Roxanne and other athletes have been in Booker T's while they've been a WWE superstar. And now here you are. You don't work there anymore, but guess what? Booker T's calling. He wants you, and that's amazing. I think that's great, and I cannot wait this weekend.
I'm so excited, and I hope that he books me every month and, does something with me, maybe puts me in a story, maybe puts me in a faction with other Hispanics. But whatever it is, I'll be ready,
Oh, man. Well, May 11th is coming up, so I cannot wait. But Emma Diaz, thank you so much for sharing your story and your passion for the wrestling business, and I cannot wait to see you again. Mark it on your calendar. 2 years from now, I'll be talking to you again, seeing where you at. Probably world champion somewhere.
Yes.
Most likely. 100%. Well, thanks for being here on the show. I'm Steve Fall. She's Emma Diaz. Have a great day. Remember, May 11th, Reality of Wrestling. Tune in or tune out. Peace. Have a good one.